Hey everyone. So in this video I want to talk about something that I experienced a lot when I had my eating disorder, and that was around how the eating disorder was never satisfied with what I did. And in our book I use the example of running an 100-meter race, and how, it's like you get to that 100-meter mark and then you realize that someone's moved the finish line by another 100 meters. And then you get to the 200-meter mark and then you realize it's been moved another 200 meters. And it just kind of keeps going. And I really experienced this a lot in relation to the eating disorder, because it felt like I was doing everything it was asking of me or telling of me, and never really asked, only ever told or demanded. And I thought I was, obeying it. I thought I was doing everything that I was almost meant to, or what it felt like I was meant to in the eating disorder's eyes. But then when I would kind of, do those behaviors or act on what it was saying, the goalpost would be moved, and I was never happy. It's like when I acted on those behaviors and it was like, okay, well, I've done that, but actually it never left me feeling content in any way. I mean, that's just the eating disorder summed up, really. It's not there to it's never going to make you happy. And I just wonder whether you can kind of recognize that pattern anywhere in your own life. This idea that it doesn't have to be in relation to the eating disorder. It's like, I'll be happy when ... and then we get to that thing, we achieve that thing, we buy that thing, we whatever it might be, and then we just realize that, oh, actually it's shifted again, and actually we need to buy this other thing, or this bigger house, or this better job, or whatever it might be. And this is such a classic characteristic of our chatter up here, our inner critic, our ego. And the thing is, like, when we come from that place, it kind of never ends. And what I've seen, just kind of from my own experience, that the way out the way out of that is to not play the game, because in some senses it almost feels like a game, because it's like we have to play by these rules, or it's the I'll be happy when game, and just kind of constantly chasing something, or constantly trying to appease this voice in our head. And actually, when we try and get in there and reason with it, and what I've found is that actually that doesn't necessarily work, because that's still kind of being in the game with the chatter. So actually, what happens when we step out of that? What happens when we choose not to chase, when we choose not to buy into this idea that we'll be happy when we've achieved or obtained or done this certain thing? What if actually we bring it back to us? What if we bring it back to the now, and just allow all of that chatter to settle, and see what's what's underneath that, because I certainly found that when I started to realize that actually this wasn't a game that I wanted to play anymore, because it was so unfulfilling and unachievable, because it just keeps going and going and going, and actually I wasn't getting any closer to feeling happier or more joyful or more fulfilled. Like that didn't happen when I was in that kind of cycle. So when I started to see that and kind of step out of it, or even just notice when I was starting to get drawn into it and actually choose not to play, then I realized that actually those feelings that I was chasing, they were on offer right here, right now. When we drop beneath the noise, when we drop into the now, into the knowing that actually we are whole right here, right now, and that actually we don't need to search for external validation, or we don't need to keep adding all these kind of material things into our lives that in order to feel a certain thing. And that made a really big difference for me, because it started to feel that I wasn't living on a hamster wheel so much, just like that constant going and going and going. And I think that's yeah, that has a massive ripple effect, because then we start to just live more in the now. And I think that's always a good thing. And I think what I would say is that what I'm sharing isn't saying that we can't want things or want to achieve different things, or the job, or the house, or the whatever it might be. But it's just when we notice where that's coming from, like, is that coming from a place of kind of groundedness, or is it coming from a place of I need this thing in order to be happy? And I think in relation to the eating disorder, for me, it only ever seemed to be coming from that place, that second part, the I need to do this in order to feel a certain way, or to avoid feeling a certain feeling. So it's like tracing it back to its source. Like, what's underneath this? What's driving this need, or this want to do a certain behavior or achieve a certain thing? Where's that coming from? And I think our feelings are such a good guide to kind of telling us that information. When we're coming from a more grounded place, we generally feel kind of calmer, and whereas when it's coming from a place of needing or wanting to do something in order to feel a certain way, or avoid feeling a certain feeling, then certainly for me it always felt a lot more kind of urgent and anxious and kind of spiky in a way, kind of unsettled. And when we're in that place, we need to just let that kind of settle, like the snowflakes in a snow globe. And then once we're in a place that's more settled, more grounded, more calm, then from that place, I think certainly for me, I'm much more able to make decisions that are aligned with what I truly want and what truly feels right, rather than being reactive and just constantly acting from this place up here. So I hope that's been some kind of food for thought. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.